We're so glad to have you here today for the TIP or Training Innovation Project Learn at Lunch event, where our goal is to build the capacity of vocational rehabilitation professionals to serve people with disabilities and engage with employers through innovative training and technical assistance. Today's topic is Redefining Opportunity, a national look at disability employment innovation, presented by Dina Klimkina. Dina is a public policy leader with more than a decade of experience advancing disability employment and workforce policy at the state, federal, and international levels. Dina has partnered with policymakers and agency leaders in more than 50 states, providing research, technical assistance, and policy guidance on disability employment initiatives. She has supported multiple projects funded by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, including the State Exchange on Employment and Disability, the Employer Assistance Resource Network, and the Retaining Employment and Talent After Injury Illness Network. Her work focuses on workforce innovation, stay at work, return to work strategies, apprenticeships, and disability inclusion. Prior to joining Concepts Communications, Dina held leadership and project management roles at the Urban Institute and the Council of State Governments, where she led policy research and workforce initiatives supporting economic mobility, education, and employment outcomes. So we've got a lot of good information to hear today. We plan to leave time for questions. You can also enter those in the chat, and we'll do our best to address them either after the presentation or even by email if necessary. The recording of today's presentation will be found at tiptrain.com. And before I turn it over to Dina, I want to remind you to join us on June 23rd for a Community of Practice event, and I will put these links in the chat. June 24th for a masterclass with Dr. Phil Rumrill, setting the record straight about hiring and retaining disabled workers, debunking myths. And also hold July 21st at noon for the business case for hiring and retaining qualified people with disabilities, which will be hosted by Johnny Collette and Laurie Mays from the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. But for now, we're going to focus our attention on Dina and Redefining Opportunity, a national look at disability employment. Dina?
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to the HDI team for having me here today. It is an honor to be with you all, and I'm excited to connect and hope we can all learn together. As you've already mentioned, my name is Dina Klimkina, and I am the Policy Director for the State Exchange on Employment and Disability. And today we'll be talking about how states are redefining opportunity for individuals with disabilities through a national look at disability employment. I'll also be sharing a little bit about our excellent federal resource, the State Exchange on Employment and Disability. So let's begin. So funded by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, or ODEP, SEED helps states and localities develop and adopt policies and best practices that advance employment of individuals with disabilities. We're an educator and hands-on technical assistance resource to policymakers, and we offer a range of customizable tools that help leaders implement workforce development and tap into a large and vital talent pool. So to that end, SEED provides policymaker engagement at the state and local levels and research on existing policies in states and localities. So, for example, if a state wants to understand what policies exist at the state level and where there might be an opportunity for improvement, we're happy to conduct a full-scale gap analysis of all of the efforts and policies within that state. Alternatively, if a state is interested in what other states are doing in regards to a specific topic, so for example, artificial intelligence and disability employment, we're happy to provide an analysis and a series of examples that other states are using to improve employment outcomes. We also share state and local examples and best policies and practices more broadly. So, for example, if we learn about a disability employment initiative around data collection from Colorado, and we also know that New York is interested in a similar effort, we will provide them with examples of other efforts and connect the relevant parties, which is exactly a true story. Colorado right now is embarking on a statewide analysis of disability employment, and we've connected them to our friends in New York who are interested in similar programs. We also track disability employment policy trends. So, for example, we've seen a marked increase in policies relating to interagency coordination around employment, mental health, and competitive integrated employment over the past 3 years. And as a whole, we work to build capacity and provide education, outreach, and customized technical assistance. Finally, we also convene policymakers for peer-to-peer learning and knowledge sharing. For example, in partnership with the National League of Cities, we recently held a learning lab for 8 cities across the country to learn from one another and create disability employment hiring plans. Based on feedback from that meeting, many cities took inspiration from their peers and are continuing to collaborate and share lessons learned. So now let's get into what's going on around the country. And I apologize, this will be verbally heavy. Um, but we have identified 7 broad policy categories which states have used to improve employment opportunities for people with disabilities. First, state and local governments can facilitate career readiness and work-based learning opportunities for individuals with disabilities that should be aligned with education and career development plans and meet state and local workforce needs. This can range from opportunities for career exploration, job shadowing, and workplace tours to informational interviews, mentorship, and career and technical education. You can also promote higher education and making it universally designed and accessible, and establishing apprenticeship and work-based learning opportunities. And I'll provide a few of those in a moment. States can also focus on improving behavioral health. An estimated 61.5 million Americans live with a behavioral health condition, and state and local governments can enact policies that extend to individuals with mental health and substance use conditions and encourage employment of people with disabilities to address behavioral health. This can include improving access to workplace care and supports, expanding the behavioral health workforce to include people with disabilities, and engaging in interstate licensure reciprocity, modifying behavioral health professional requirements, or incentivizing training for mental health professionals. States can also improve mental health parity. A really great example right out of Kentucky is recently Kentucky enacted legislation focused on career support counselors for individuals with substance use disorders and changed the requirements around that to expand opportunities. State and local governments can also enact policies that support the retention of employees in the event or injury of an injury or illness on or off the job, or change an individual's disability. So, for example, if somebody gets uh, a workplace injury or their medical condition changes, we will support them in getting back to work. Many of these workers are at risk of leaving the labor force, especially if they don't receive timely and effective stay at work, return to work support, with the likelihood of coming back to work dropping to 50% after 12 weeks. This is something that HDI is really experienced in, so I would definitely reach out to them for any other information on stay at work, return to work. But among policy options, states can include appointing return to work coordinators, providing ill or injured individuals with vocational rehabilitation services, and offering benefits counseling. In the coming months, SEED will be releasing a large-scale report focused on stay-at-work, return-to-work programs and policies, which will include the work of our excellent folks at Kentucky Retain and UK HDI. So please keep an eye out for that. State and local governments can also advance policies that build the capacity of private and nonprofit sectors to recruit, hire, train, and retain disabled workers. A lot of states are establishing tax credits and incentives to encourage businesses to hire applicants with disabilities or providing incentives for employment. They can also encourage disability-owned businesses businesses that employ individuals with disabilities to participate in procurement. Finally, they can also create public-private partnership to facilitate collaboration around employment. I'll also have a few great examples of what's going on around the country, but there's really innovative efforts coming out of New York, Colorado, Minnesota, among other states. State and local governments can also enact and encourage the development of disability-owned businesses and promote entrepreneurship and self-employment. Some states offer incentives, technical assistance, or training for entrepreneurs, while others have developed training programs specific to entrepreneurship. As I mentioned, interagency coordination has been one of the fastest growing policy areas. So to facilitate workforce system coordination and collaboration, states can also optimize resources and service delivery. This can include data sharing on employment, blending and braiding of resources, and establishing interagency agreements. I know this is kind of vague, but for example, in some states, vocational rehabilitation works directly with apprenticeship offices to connect clients and apprenticeship training opportunities. So that way they have interagency agreements to send clients over to qualified positions. I believe I'll talk about an example out of Virginia, but Colorado also does this, and a lot of states are increasingly partnering. And finally, state governments can lead by example by becoming model public sector employers for people with disabilities. State governments are really usually among the largest employers in the regions, so they have a significant role to play in demonstrating and promoting best practices in recruitment, hiring, and retention of individuals. This can include anything from creating a disability employment office, like the state of Maryland did this past year, or the state of Colorado, their Disability Opportunity Office, to piloting innovative employment programs like the Civil Sector Apprenticeship Program within the state of Ohio. I know that was a lot of words coming at you, but these are just a few of the policy examples that states have used to improve employment outcomes. And if you have any other questions or would like any examples or resources, please let us know. So let's dive into a few exciting examples. So apprenticeships have been increasing over the past decade, and the federal government, as well as state agencies, have high goals for improving apprenticeships. So they are a work-based learning program that combines paid on-the-job training with related classroom or technical instruction, allowing participants to earn wages while developing skills and credentials for a specific occupation. So you could have pre-apprenticeships, which get individuals ready for the apprenticeship, or an apprenticeship itself, which leads them right directly into the workforce with a progressive wage scale. There has been rapid growth in the number of apprentices with disabilities in the past 10 years, um, approximately an increase of 3,091% since 2016. And that number will continue to grow. And I'm happy to provide a link later to where that data is from. And, with a grain of salt, there's likely self-disclosure, some things going on with self-disclosure and increase in engagement, but it is still a rapidly growing area. So a few really exciting examples. Through a DIF grant, the Virginia Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services Pathways Program actually connects Virginians with disabilities to apprenticeship programs in high demand, high growth industries. These include industries such as construction, manufacturing, healthcare, and information technology, among others. And I believe they do this through both internships and apprenticeships, and a workforce coordinator that supports those job seekers. Another really exciting and innovative example is a partnership between Together International, Google.org, and Build Within. So they launched an innovative apprenticeship program for entrepreneurs with disabilities. It is a first of its kind initiative with the US Department of Labor, and it is registered, and it is for aspiring technology startup founders. So an individual is able to go in and learn the ropes of creating and developing a technology company and then build on that skill. And they can either stay with that company if they have a great relationship, or they can launch something on their own, but a really exciting program. In California, the Able Disabled Advocacy Youth Training Program uses a youth-centered approach to overcome service gaps. It includes universal access, accommodations, personal counseling, all to assist youth in overcoming mental health, substance abuse, or physical challenges. They also provide ongoing career assessments and career counseling, labor market information, academic advising and career mentoring, and skills upgrading leading to high school completion and professional industry credentials. They also support students with financial management, benefits counseling, and disability 101. They do also provide resources around housing, transportation, and childcare, and provide a comprehensive continuum of other financial supports needed to succeed. I also believe that they have a apprenticeship opportunity in information technology as well. So a lot of great innovation going around the country with apprenticeship. But let's move on to some other innovative examples for private sector engagement. So in 2023, Minnesota established an employer reasonable accommodation fund. And this fund is located within DEED, or the Department of Economic um, and Labor Services. D, I apologize, Minnesota. I will put the link in the chat after I finish speaking. Um, but essentially, over 4 years, they were given an amount of money and they were able to receive applications from businesses, I believe up to 500 individuals, for reimbursement for accommodations. So small to mid-sized Minnesota employers, and they can provide accommodation requests for anything from ramps to technical tools an individual might use for accommodations, all the way to smaller services. And they've actually found great success within this program. 83% of business owners using the accommodations program saw a significant or exceptional increase in productivity from employees. So just in the first 2 pilot years, they've already seen exceptional success, and the program has already been refunded within Minnesota. And I will note that of around the country, a number of states have central accommodation funds. Those include Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Colorado, with a few others working to establish some currently. And but however, Minnesota's is the only program that's for external use, while the others are for state government agencies. Other states are also pioneering disability employment through interagency coordination. In Montana, the governor launched a statewide workforce initiative in 2025 with the intent of removing barriers to employment for veterans, individuals with behavioral health and developmental disabilities, and those reentering society through the newly established Office of Reentry. They provided training to state agencies and to employers, and a number of disability inclusion initiatives. They've also launched a statewide credential registry, modernized career exploration tools, and expanded jobs for Montana's graduates and empowered sites. Overall, their efforts have really worked on improving coordination to provide comprehensive supports and services to folks in the workforce. In Alaska and Maryland, they're also working to increase entrepreneurship and self-employment. Alaska provides, and a number of other states do as well, contract bid preferences for business owners with disabilities when they respond to procurement requests for the state. And many other states actually also provide an expedited process for certification for disability-owned businesses, so they don't have to go through the hullabaloo of a long registration process. And then Maryland is a RISE program, or the Reaching Independence Through Self-Employment program, is a self-employment program which provides training and technical assistance for VR recipients interested in building their own business. And I know they're currently working to grow and expand this effort. And finally, I also want to highlight some of the key efforts at the city level. New York established the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities in 1973. And in partnership with city offices and agencies, MOPD ensures city initiatives, programs, and policies address the needs and interests of people with disabilities. The office's employment initiative, NYC at Work, works with state VR to support businesses and employees with best practices and disability training while providing job seekers with job readiness resources. I will say they are also a great model of interagency coordination. So NYC at Work works with the mayor's office and the economic development office to really look at how they can increase business engagement and spread the word on hiring individuals with disabilities. And they're going to have some great things coming out in the next few months. And then another great example of city efforts is the city of Tacoma. So in 2023, with some technical assistance from our C team, the city of Tacoma, Washington passed a tax incentive providing local employers with the opportunity for a $1,000 tax credit for creating a new full or part-time position paying the state minimum wage or higher for individuals with disabilities. So that was just the tip of the iceberg, and I know it was a lot. But we have a lot of policies and programs and examples that our team has on hand. We have numerous additional resources from city efforts to mental health to state as a model employer, and even a disability employment database. So pictured on the screen is a screenshot of our disability employment legislation database with the National Conference of State Legislatures, and an image of from a webinar we did with CSG South, the Council of State Governments South. So we have a webinar on mental health. We have the database. We have the policy brief on quality apprenticeships. We have resources on behavioral health at work, and then city level efforts. So feel free to reach out or visit these resources. We're happy to provide you with anything else. I would also love to direct you to our friends at the Job Accommodation Network and the Employer Assistance Resource Network on Disability. Jan is an incredible source of free, expert, and confidential guidance on workplace accommodations. Um, Really, they have something for anything. So, and they're really great to work with directly. So feel free to use them as a resource. EARN also provides great resources and technical assistance on employer engagement. And for any information on supporting employment for youth with disabilities, accessible technology, please contact our friends at the Center for Advancing Policy on Employment for Youth, or PETE, the Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technology. But also always feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. And then if you have any other questions or needs, you can also contact our friends at the U.S. Department of Labor Office of Disability Employment Policy. I have included our federal lead's name and email address on the slide deck. His name is Cyrus Hincherek. And we welcome all questions, any information that you might need. We're grateful to work with you and partner with you, and are happy to stick around to answer any questions or provide any examples. But thank you all very, very much.